Welcome everyone and Happy New Year to all of you. Today is our January 2026 meeting of the Special Education Advisory Committee for the TDSB. We are going to be having things a little different today in terms of our beginning of our meeting. We are having the elections as previously shared. Next slide, please, Leanne. We will begin with the land acknowledgement. So if I can ask you to stand if you're able, please.
Space.
We acknowledge we are on the lands of the Mississaugas of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Wendat. We also acknowledge the enduring presence of all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. Miigwech, thank you. So for the election staff will run the election. We will conduct the election for the chair first. Only members are eligible to be nominated. Alternates are not eligible for nomination. You may nominate a member and they may accept or decline the nomination. So one member may nominate another member. Members may also self-nominate. If there is only one nomination for either chair or vice chair, the candidate will be acclaimed without a vote. And candidates may have up to 5 minutes to address the membership prior to voting. Before we start the voting process for chair and vice chair, I want to extend a sincere thank you from TDSB staff to previous chair David Lepofsky and previous vice chair Tracy O'Regan for serving this past year. We have enjoyed collaborating with you, and we thank you for working alongside us to support students with special education needs and disabilities. If you are in the room, you have been given 2 pieces of paper. We will start with the election for the chair. Please write the name once we have the candidates. Voting will be by secret ballot. And you will, for those of you in the room, will write on the sheet of paper and I will collect them. If you are online, please use the private chat. So in the chat, you're going to send it to Lianne Dixon, Lianne Dixon, and she will have your vote that way. And we will be needing some time, of course, to tally the in-person and Zoom ballots. If there's a tie, there will be a second vote. If there is still a tie, the decision will be made by a coin toss. So we will start with the election of the chair. Are there any nominations for chair? Again, members can self-nominate or members can nominate a member.
David Lepofsky, I'm prepared to stand again.
Thank you. So we have a self-nomination from David Lepofsky. Nora?
I was just going to nominate David.
Okay. And Nora as well was going to...
I was at Bronwyn. I'm going to nominate as well, David.
Okay. Thank you, Bronwyn. And online, Leanne, any other nominations?
I don't see any hands raised and I don't have any personal messages.
Okay, thank you. So going once, twice. I don't see any other, because we're hybrid, please be patient with me. I'm trying to get the room as well as online here. So Leanne, no other nominations online and none other coming from the floor. And so congratulations to David Lepofsky on another term of being SEAC chair. Before we go to nomination for the vice chair, David, did you want to say anything?
No, other than thank you and thank you. I accept all 3 nominations. And, thank you.
Thank you very much. So voting again for vice chair will be held at this point, following the same format that we just concluded. Any nominations? And Leanne, if you can help me with online, please. Any nominations for vice chair? Again, members may self-elect.
Maybe I'd like to nominate Jordan Glass. I want to thank Tracy O'Regan for her excellent work. She has indicated she isn't able to continue, and I therefore am nominating Jordan.
Thank you, David. So nomination from David Lepofsky for Jordan Glass to serve as vice chair. Leanne, any nominations from online?
I have no indications, no.
Any other nominations from the floor or online for a vice chair? And I'm not in the Zoom, Leanne, so I'm depending on you here.
No, I have nothing. No hands raised and no personal messages.
Okay, thank you very much. Welcome, Jordan Glass, to serving as vice chair for TDSB SEAC.
Honored.
Is there anything you'd like to say?
Just that I'm honored to accept.
Sir, I see that Leo's hand is raised.
Yeah, it's not a nomination or a self-nomination.
Okay.
It's just asking if it's procedurally correct to maybe invite the acclaimed members if they can maybe maybe not David. We all know David, but I haven't heard much from Jordan. It would be nice to hear a little bit about him and what his priorities will be.
Thanks, Leo. So I did offer that to Jordan, and he said it was an honor to serve, but I can go back to Jordan again to see if there's anything you'd like to add now.
Yeah, absolutely. Leo, I know I've spent much of our time since COVID online, but I've been on the committee for more than 10 years now, and my priorities are to represent the city as a whole now, moving forward from my role as a regional representative, and work with David to do that.
Thank you very much. Okay, welcome officially to David and Jordan, and you may resume the chair of the vice chair. Thank you.
Can you just take those up? Can you just take those up? Yeah, absolutely. Great. Thank you very much, everyone. Happy New Year. Great to be back. And thank you for entrusting both of us with this responsibility. I hope we won't let you down. Let us dive into our agenda. First, we should approve the agenda for today's meeting, which has been circulated. And I was wondering if there is any motion, anyone who might move to approve the agenda. Yep. Okay, Jordan's moving, and then can you identify for me if anybody seconds it, either in the room or online?
Nora seconds.
Nora? All right, all in favor of approving the agenda? Just let me know if anybody opposes.
No one.
Okay, it's approved. Next, I need to know if anyone has a conflict of interest to declare on any of the agenda items that we've approved for our meeting. You know if anybody identifies themselves?
No one.
Nope. I understand there are none. Next, we have approval of the minutes. I may traumatize staff, but I looked over the minutes and they, I think, fairly represent the content of our meeting, only they don't attach my chair's report. However, I don't believe I actually brought a motion at the last meeting to get the chair's report added to the minutes. We'll make it public somewhere. It will be seen. We wish that the staff would post it online, but in any event, I am actually going to, we will now consider whether to approve the minutes, and for what it's worth, I believe that they are an accurate rendition, and they do have sufficient detail in order to provide a record of what we've advised and what we are recommended and what we've been told by staff. So in light of that, is anyone interested in moving that we approve the minutes of our December meeting?
I'll move.
Jordan's moving. Anyone second?
Sorry, Jordan, are you able to see, are you on Zoom? Are you able to see the folks online, or do you need assistance with that? Because I see Anne and I believe Jean-Paul had their hands up as well.
My apologies. I do need it for the moment. My computer seems to be having some technical difficulties.
Sure.
Right. So why don't we put Jean-Paul, if he's moving approval, can we have a seconder? And if staff can assist, if they can see the screen.
Oh, I see Anne from Epilepsy Toronto.
Okay, Anne. Thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes? Opposed, if any? They approved?
So just give us a minute, please, to see. I have 3 in the room, Leanne.
Are the
I'm
current
just
hands raised
counting.
for opposed?
I have 1, 2. I have none opposed. I don't know if I only have 3 votes up, so I'm getting more now. Okay, so we're good. Thank you.
All right, good, thank you. Now we move to what is listed as the chair's report.
Oh, David, it's sorry, it's Louise. I've raised my hand if I might.
Oh, sure. I wanted to actually first introduce someone who is new. By direction of the province, the Director of Education is to attend SEAC meetings, and I understand in light of the fact that Clayton Latouche is no longer the Director of Education, that the Acting Director, Stacy Zucker, is here. Am I right?
That's correct.
Hey there. So, A, welcome, and B, would you like to just introduce yourself for a sec?
Thank you, absolutely, and thank you for welcoming me. Again, my name is Stacy Zucker. I have been an associate director here at the board since 2022, but I've been in education and served. This is my 3rd board for 20 years, so this is my 20th year working in education. If you may recall, when Colleen retired, I did serve in the acting director role at the time for 4 months last year. And so again, I have been appointed to this role as interim director at this time. So happy to be here and looking forward to hearing the discussions. And again, thank you for all the work that you do for our students that have special education needs and disabilities.
All right, well, thank you. Now, not on the agenda formally, but it's in my chair's report, and I think I might just deal with it now. The SEAC at the last meeting passed 4 different motions.
Sorry, David, before you start, I'm just supporting Jordan here, but Louise still has her hand up and Jean-Paul has his hand up.
Okay, there's a couple of you who still have your hands up, and if you could just take them down from the vote, that would be great. We're good?
David, I just wanted to make comment about the minutes before your chair's report.
Sure.
Just thank you. I just wanted to, before you began another topic, I just wanted to express my gratitude for our working relationship. and the working relationship from staff to SEAC members. There are times where we agree to disagree, but always listen to each other and try and find a way forward that is respectful and incorporates as much as what has been said as possible. And I think this is an example. So I just wanted to express gratitude and also, reiterate staff's commitment to be listening intently and to be working collaboratively. And I think that we demonstrated that. So thank you very much, Chair Lepofsky.
Thanks. Now, in the last meeting, we passed 4 different motions, and they were all important. I believe one of the reasons the minutes are as were a significant improvement is because the advice we gave took the form of motions. They are repeated verbatim in the minutes, and it may be that the way we address the concerns we've had about how to approach minutes is we just crystallize our recommendation in the form of motions. We'll determine that over time. But of importance, and I addressed this in my chair's report, I was advised that these motions were taken to the provincially appointed supervisor as is appropriate. Oh, Jean-Paul, I understand you still have your hand up. I don't know whether you're trying to raise a point about the minutes or if you just left your hand up.
Yes, please. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. And
Okay.
Happy New Year, by the way.
Okay, thank you. Happy New Year. Thank you. Congrats, David, for this new, mandate. And I like the way that the minutes, kind of were written. The only comment that I will have is that if for this meeting minutes, we avoid making them to sound like it's a dialogue between staff and the chair. Okay. Because the way that they are written now, it sounds like it's a dialogue between the staff and the chair, and which is not exactly what it was. Because even though the chair, was participated in the discussion, member also participated in the discussion. We should probably find a way to synthesize what SEAC said, not saying that the chair said, and Associate Director Louise said. Thank you.
Fair point, and I agree. Anyway, let me just pick up with the one part that I want to focus on in my chair's report, and that is this. The staff took the motions that we passed at the last meeting. In the past, they would have been taken to the trustees. There are no trustees, and in lieu of that, staff took them to the supervisor, which is totally appropriate. I was advised, and we may hear more about it from staff in the leadership report, but that the provincially appointed supervisor referred those motions back to staff. Here's the problem that I'm addressing. He's of course entitled to, just as the trustees were entitled to. But under the provincial regulations, which are binding on the school board, they are not superseded by any guidelines or policies or protocols or anything. When the trustees are to make a decision on a recommendation of ours, the trustees are first required to afford us an opportunity, SEAC, to be heard. And the trustees did that. During my period as chair, I presented at several occasions at meetings of the trustees or of a committee of the trustees, and appreciated the opportunity to be heard and questioned, whether or not they agreed. And the staff had an opportunity to do the same, all in public. And then whatever decision they reached, good, bad, or indifferent, that's what they did. In this case, the trustee, or pardon me, the supervisor, in effect, steps into the shoes, I would respectfully suggest, of the trustees whose role he is now taking on. His role isn't limited to theirs, but it includes theirs. We were not afforded an opportunity to be heard before he rendered that decision on those four. I'm very concerned about that, both from the perspective of compliance with the regulation and as a matter of respect for SEAC. Also concerned that, note that I appreciate that I've had the opportunity to meet with the supervisor twice. I will again. I look forward to it. We've had good meetings, and constructive ones. But they were before staff brought these points to the supervisor and before he rendered his decision. So we were not heard on our motions. And I therefore am proposing, dare I say it, a motion. And it is a motion in effect calling on or expressing a view by SEAC that the supervisor should afford us an opportunity to be heard before rendering a decision on our recommendations that we present at this committee. Leanne, I wonder if you could just read the motion out before we discuss and, if possible, vote on it. Leanne,
Sorry, David, which,
it's the
which
motion
motion?
regarding, it's in the report, not the last one. It's the,
Oh, not the last one. Okay, just
No.
give me 1 second. Sorry, I prepared the last one. I didn't prepare. Okay. Whereas Ontario Regulation 46497 requires that when SEAC makes a recommendation to TDSB, trustees may not make a decision on that recommendation unless SEAC is afforded a chance to be heard. And whereas the TDSB trustees always allowed a SEAC representative to speak to the trustees at a public SEAC meeting in support of a SEAC recommendation and to hear what TDSB staff say in response to that recommendation before making a decision on it. And whereas the Ontario government has removed the trustees from their role governing TDSB and has appointed a provincial supervisor who takes on the role of the trustees, among other things. And whereas the provincial supervisor had made several decisions on SEAC recommendations without affording SEAC an opportunity to be heard and has not attended any SEAC meetings, SEAC therefore recommends that the provincially appointed supervisor should afford SEAC an opportunity to be heard, as did the trustees, before making a decision on a recommendation from SEAC.
I'd like to move that, and I'm wondering if we have a seconder.
I second it, Bronwyn.
Bronwyn and Nora beat me to it.
Right. I'm wondering if you could take a speakers list, if anyone wants to speak to it, if the wording is okay, if there's any anything that I'm open if I didn't get it right. We could make some wording changes, but I think it's okay.
I saw John Paul's hand go up first.
Jean-Paul, and anybody else, or just Jean-Paul?
It's the only one I saw.
Okay, Jean-Paul is our speaker. Go ahead, Jean-Paul.
Thank you. I was just raising my hand to support it.
Oh, okay. Any other discussion, or shall we go to a vote? Okay, no, nothing else, then
No one else.
all in favor of the motion, please raise your hand.
Three here, Leanne.
Okay. I have 1, 2, 3, And I have 9 online.
Okay, opposed if any? I think that's a majority.
Looks like one. Oh, never mind. None
No
opposed.
opposed. All right, thank you, passed. With respect, okay, next on the agenda, we have agreed that the April meeting of SEAC is going to be devoted to receiving delegations from parents and guardians of children with disabilities or special education needs to identify problems they've encountered and recommendations of how things might be improved. And I am, which I will be calling the Parents Voice meeting, because staff don't have asked that we not use the term town hall. I call it whatever you want. But in any event, can I just indicate we need to pull together a Parents Voice working group to basically plan the event and figure out how to publicize and get the word out. And that's really the only thing I need to do on that topic at our meeting today. It ought to be a short group, short lived activity. We'll have a couple of Zoom meetings, do our planning, and make it happen. So could I just get an indication of who might be, and I think I volunteered Nora to chair it. Nora, did I volunteer you?
Jessica's.
I think I did.
Yeah, you voluntold.
Yeah, got it.
I also see Leo, Bronwyn, and Tracy online.
Okay, Leo, Bronwyn, Tracy, and I will also do it.
Jessica.
Oh, did Jessica say yes?
Jessica, I'm also going to put my name in there as well.
And Jordan, excellent.
Thank
And if
you.
other people,
The only thing I'd say, David, just one thing to note is if it could possibly be outside of working hours. That's
right.
my only thing, because I work now till 5:36, and I really, this means a lot to me, as I'm sure many of you know, because I never shut up about it. So I'd really like to be a part of it, but I just can't do the daytime. Thank you.
All right, no problem.
And I see Richard's hand is up as well.
Richard, are you wanting to speak, or you want to be on the group?
To be on the group. Thank you, David.
Okay, great.
Right,
And Richard needs extra wants to be after hours, so let's plan it for after hours. Stay tuned. All right, very good. The next thing on our agenda is Craig is here, I gather. Craig Snyder?
Yes, he's here.
Excellent. Happy New Year, Craig. So an important role of SEAC under the regulations that create us is that the school board is required to consult us on the special education budget. And every year we have several presentations by Craig Snyder, who is the senior TDSB official responsible for the budget and who knows it like no one else knows it. In the past, he's presented a detailed slide presentation, and then we get an opportunity in the few remaining minutes to ask questions. Because we're in a different world today, with the change in the governance at the board, I have just decided that we might do it kind of differently. And I want to do it in the form of first having the Q&A. And then, and while answering, Craig can take as much time as he needs to explain. You could refer to your PowerPoint slides as you wish if you need to. But I wanted to give us a chance to weigh in with our questions and our comments and our feedback. I'm going to ask the first one. But while I'm doing that, if anyone who wants to ask questions, please, and I'm prepared to stretch the content of the time allocated to this. If there's a lot more that we can fit in 30 minutes, this is critically important, and we can adjust the remaining time on other topics accordingly. Could you, if you are interested in asking questions or giving feedback to Craig, please raise your hand now, and Jordan will start taking the speakers list. So Craig, the question I've got, and I think it's the big question, lots of others that are important, is this. Each year around this time, when you present to us, you provide a very thorough and persuasive series of numbers that basically boil down to the board has to spend more money than the province gives it. We all know that last June, the province decided to assume responsibility for the board and displace the trustees, and stated this is because of the budget deficit at the board. We've now had a provincial supervisor in place since June. And what I'd like to know is, number one, has the province increased any of the funding for the school board to make up that deficit, or have there been cuts? Or are we running a deficit? And if there have been cuts since the supervisor took over, can you tell us what's been cut?
So through you, Mr. Chair, I wasn't prepared to speak tonight to the current year budget, but the budget hasn't changed for special ed right now at this point in time, and the funding remains the same as when we built the budget in June. So both the budget and the revenue have stayed the same.
So we're still, so as for the deficit that the board had when it approved its budget, and we were told this, I think, by one of other senior staff, that the budget from last fall that was approved in the spring is still the budget. So essentially, the supervisor has not made any cuts at the board, budgetary cuts. You mentioned there were no cuts to the special ed budget is the same. Is the budget respecting the rest of the board still the same? Because obviously our kids, if it's a building, the building is paid for not by the special ed budget, it's part of the regular budget.
So through you, Mr. Chair, there have been no reductions to budget. There has been review of staffing complements that are needed when people retire or resign. There's a hiring and review process, but the budget itself for the 25-26 year remains the same.
Okay, good. That's very good. And as for, you're in the process of developing the budget for next year. Normally, you would be going through a process with the trustees. Well, first with staff and then with trustees. And you were usually explain to us how that worked and what the timeline was, culminating in trustee meetings in the spring and so on. How's that going to work this year? Is it the same timeline? It's just the supervisor, or is the development of the budget going to be any different, the process?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I would say that the mechanical part of how we build the budget will remain the same. The time when we work and coordinate with the supervisor is still yet to be determined, and what his needs are for information versus what the trustees' needs are. But the mechanics behind the budget will be basically the same process.
And when you knew at a certain point in time last year that you were looking at a possible budget possible deficit, because there was obviously a lot of activity through the spring about that. Do you have a sense? We're especially concerned, obviously, with what cuts that would affect special education specifically, or students with disabilities or special education needs, whether it's called special education budget or not. But across the board, or in any way, is there a point in time when you can know or not know whether you're looking at a shortfall between what the province will give you and what your projected needs, spending needs are? And if so, when roughly are we talking? It's kind of February, March, April, June?
So through you, Mr. Chair, That'll be somewhere between mid-April to May, depending when the grants are released, and we can calculate the revenues to the board, the funding to the board.
Got it. All right, speakers list.
Got Nora first, then Richard, then Leo.
Nora, then Richard, then Leo, and I'm going to give time because you need time.
Sure, thank you. And thank you for coming tonight, Craig. A couple of things, I'm going to be really specific because I appreciate you said that we're not sure about the process. So things I'm looking for are the financial document, facts document that you publish every year. Will the board be publishing the financial facts document to the public? I'm looking for the, presentations to the public. You and I have met many times in different places and locations when you're presenting. And I appreciate that you take the time to do that virtually and in person. And I'm sure it's a lot of time on your part, but I think the public really appreciates knowing the decisions the board has to make. And then delegations regarding the budget from the public. So often when we've heard there are budget limitations, particularly in special ed, we would have families come and talk about the program and the impact the program has had, and staff have been able to present. So am I understanding that you're not clear as to whether any of those three things will be happening this year?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I would say at this point, we're still developing some of that. We are still working, as I said, the mechanical part of the staff work will continue in its normal sequence of events, but we're still working on what the longer public and consultation process will look like.
And I'm just curious, how will the public be informed about what's changed and what to expect? Like, will that go out in a blast to all the schools, to all the parents? Like, how will the public know?
When we have a final blueprint, we'll work with our communications department to make sure that it's in an appropriate form that a majority of our parents and stakeholders can understand.
Thank you. And I'm just clarifying again, because I've heard other school boards have had to cut some staff mid-year. That's not us this year, correct? That's what I understand.
Through the chair, I would just say it this way, that hiring review is taking place with the supervisor as positions become vacant to determine if they should be refilled or not.
And does that include things like psychologists, speech and language pathologists, EAs, classroom teachers?
I can help.
Thank you.
If that's all right. Hi, Nora.
Hi.
Yes, hi. Every position that comes vacant does go through a hiring review. There have been no reductions to any position related to special education. And the supervisor certainly appreciates the direct support staff are providing to students and has made that statement.
Cool. That makes it clear. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And the financial facts, I'm sorry, are we going to be getting do we know when we'll be getting the financial facts documents?
We're working through through you, Chair, we're working through some of those processes right now. We should know in the coming months or so what, again, consultation and information will be provided to the public.
Okay, great. So next was Richard. Happy New Year, Richard.
Happy New Year, David and everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. Through you, Mr. Chair, question would be, is the current budget being followed by the Toronto District School Board public? And if it is public, where can we access it in its entirety just to support the role of SEAC to make comment and contributions towards the budget? And I think it would be helpful to see the budget as it is now being implemented and also being aware of what will be coming for the next year. I do sit on the budget committee, but unfortunately the working group with SEAC, but unfortunately the previous meeting I believe was held during daytime hours and I was unable to attend. So hopefully those will be able to be moved into off work hours so that we can all attend that are on the working group. So my question is the budget public? And if so, where can we access it in the entirety of what is public? Thank you.
So the budget documents that provided to trustees are public and on the website under the report section. I don't have the actual link. We can put that in the minutes where all the reports are that were provided to the trustees through the Finance Budget Enrollment Committee. during the development of the budget for 25-26.
Okay, we've got Leo and then Latoya, and if other people want to speak, Jordan's
Sorry,
screen.
could
Go
interrupt
ahead,
just for a
Leo.
second. Sorry, David, I just didn't.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Richard. I didn't mean
I
to
just
cut
want
you
to
off.
clarify. I'm trying to see the actual budget as it's being implemented now. Is that available on the website?
We have never published a full detailed budget because there are operational things in there that are for privacy and confidentiality concerns would not be issued as a full detailed budget. But the budget deliberations and the documents that support the budget are on the public website.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that, Richard. Leo, and then Latoya, and then if others want to join the speakers list, Jordan's watching the screen for you.
Thanks, David. I'm just going to bring something up, which is a big issue for us. We are very much guided by data, and we have many families, and so we get a lot of feedback from families. And I would say this is probably the number one issue that we're hearing now. My question is, given the gap between service need and availability, how is your budget addressing wait lists and access issues in special education? We're hearing from many families, particularly those trying to access in-class supports, as well as ISPs, that they feel increasingly out of reach. Is this really a reflection of a system under pressure where access is being restricted like a pressure valve to manage limited resources? Or is this more about complexity of navigating and processing needs within such a large system? Thanks.
So thank you. Through the chair, I'll ask Louise or Nandy to take that. They'll be better to answer the service side of special education than I could.
Thank you. Hi, Leo. So we have processes that we need to work through, and we are working through them as students come through. So IPRCs for students going to needing to go into ISPs. We also are working through all of our assessment wait lists, including psychological assessment wait lists. And believe me when I tell you that for the first time, we are actually less than a year for wait on for a psychological assessment as an example. So we are working through, we're using additional ministry funding as well. The ministry gives us funding if we're able to get staff to do additional assessments over the winter break, spring break, summer break, and we actually had some staff interested this past winter break. So we were able to get some assessments, not many, but we were able to get some done again based on interest of staff. We don't have wait lists for ISPs per se. If there's space for students for an ISP, they're offered that ISP. Sometimes there are families that might be looking for a closer location to their home, but as per the special education plan, we offer the ISP with space closest to the student's home. So we are working through all of our processes to ensure that students are placed or assessed as quickly as possible. And like I said, we've made gains, particularly in the psych assessment piece. Wait times on the wait list has been a year or more, and now we're approximately at 10 months. Thanks.
I'll add, Leo, thanks for the question. If we have a student or a family who's expressing a need of support, we would send in a central team to get to know the student. We might have an SST. We would evaluate the support level of the school and dispatch additional support if we feel that is necessary. So we certainly don't want there to be delays for our students and families. And as always, please reach out to us. And as you do, as advocates with families, and we problem solve together. So really appreciate the partnership. Thank you.
Craig, is there anything you wanted to add into that, or?
There's still some people on the waiting list for
questions.
No,
I'm going to, but no, I'm just.
No, I'm fine. I think that my two colleagues handled it well.
I just want to note in response to the helpful feedback from Nandy and from Louise that I really appreciate senior staff saying if we know someone who's running into problems to connect you with them. Problem is that's really not fair to the families who don't know us. And especially when we're not live streamed here anymore and they won't know to call us. And frankly, we're volunteers and shouldn't be the ones who have to use the advantage that we happen to be connected with you through SEAC. That is exactly why we've been passing motions to address this. It's going to come up in our next subject about the Family and Student Support Office, but that is illustrative of the problem that people shouldn't have an advantage of knowing the volunteers on SEAC. Latoya, you had a question.
Thank you very much.
And then Bronwyn.
I know you mentioned for the budget, there hasn't been any changes, but I think in previous meetings, either in November or December, there was updates as to additional funding that's being provided. I think one was even in regards to like autism funding or some other ones to help, I guess, bridge some of the gaps that are there. Just curious to see if those have already been factored in and applied, or if there's any updates that's, I guess, still to come for the budget.
So through you, Mr. Chair, REPs are, I forget what they stand for now because you call PPFs and before that they're called EPOs. Some of those grants are still being announced or have been announced recently, but the ones that would apply to special ed have been applied and the work is underway.
Okay, Latoya, did you want to follow up on that?
I think I'll leave it at that for now.
Okay, thank you. By the way, I'm going to avail myself. I think I'm going. I don't know why. But in any event, I'm the only one who is. I'm going to avail myself the opportunity.
David, can you mute your laptop, please, maybe? Because you're using the mic?
It should be muted. Okay, it's stopped. Could I just ask that people don't have to feel that they have to speak through the chair? I'm happy for you to just, I know it's a formality and people are used to it, but I'm happy to drop that part of our formality.
Yeah, if I may, Chair
Sure.
Oppowski, we should please be using governance rules, so we should be going through the chair. Thank you.
Well, I'm not going to enforce it. Onward, Bronwyn.
I'm guilty. I don't think I've ever done that. My apologies. Anyways, so as far as the Children's Treatment Network, I've brought this up before in the past with the funding. Craig, if you could remind me or point out now that the supervisor is involved, this is one of the most poignant times we can bring awareness to the long wait lists for children that are waiting for allied health services, for speech language pathologists, occupational therapists, through VHA. Like the services are, my child who is deaf and hard of hearing is still waiting for he's now in grade 3. He still has not had any speech language therapy within the school. He's very fortunate to have had an itinerant teacher and to have an assessment, but then you're put on this list that takes 3-4 years to get the services. I also have another child who has a different level of hearing loss. She has actually had 2 rounds of speech language therapy, and they changed the system where no matter what your disability is, you're just put on that list, which I understand for inclusion, just to not prioritize children with disabilities. But this is one of the biggest problems where parents don't understand the children's treatment network exists. Now the supervisor, Louise and Mandy, if you could push or talk about it, or just give me an update of something that could be pushed as one of the biggest problems in our system with the TDSB, where it's not speech language pathologists only come in, they don't give the therapy, they just do the assessment, and then they go and they drop them down on that wait list. So if that could be brought up through the 3 of you, Craig and Nandy and Louise, I would be very appreciative and to follow up on that.
Through the chair, thank you for that, and we will make a note of it.
Okay, great. We don't have any last call for speakers. Craig, I've got one other question, and we're probably going to run out of time. And I'm sure you had things you wanted to talk to us about that we didn't cover. And so I'm happy to have you back at the next meeting or at whatever time you want. I don't want to preempt that. I just would like, my question for you is, I've got two. One is this, under the regulations, TDSB is supposed to consult us on the budget. I've raised at prior meetings the fact that typically what happens is we get told how it's being developed, and that's helpful, and what the challenges are that you face, and that's important. And really what the financial limits are of what you need versus what you get. And we need to know that. And we ask questions, but that doesn't involve us actually giving you substantive input on the budget. And so I'm eager for TDSB to let us know, and not necessarily on the spot, we can do it at a subsequent meeting, but how you would like to consult us on the budget, like get input from us on decisions, and so on. We do, of course, identify with the special education staff where we see service shortfalls. And no doubt they communicate that with you, but what more can we do? The other question is, and I'm going to close with this, but I'd welcome your answer. We're now in a unique situation here compared to the past, which is in the past, you've identified where the budget is short of what we need. Well, the provincial allocation is short. Then it was left between the trustees and the ministry to wrangle it out, or however they do. Now you've got a direct pipeline to the minister's office through the supervisor. Is the board asking the ministry for more money to cover that deficit, that shortfall between what you've been previously allocated and what you actually need to meet the needs of the budget that was approved last spring?
So there was a two-part question there. The first part, I believe, was around how the consultation with SEAC would work. And what I'll do, the one slide, I won't do the balance of the slides because they're there in your minutes, I believe, and you can see them. Mm-hmm. But I will speak to the consultation. So what we're looking at, if my machine works for me, there we go, and I'll make it, just give me 1 second. Current slide. So what we came tonight, and we're in the package, and I won't take the time to go through it. There's 3 slides that take you through the actuals for 24-25. That shows the revenues, the expenditures, and the enveloping. So I'll leave that due to time tonight. The other thing I was coming tonight was to talk to you about and talk about what the consultation will look like for SEAC. And as I said earlier in our discussion this evening, we are working through our internal processes to determine where we are with staffing and other costs such as utilities and transportation, etc. The grants will come out sometime mid-April to mid-May, hopefully mid-April or earlier would even be better. Once we have that information and we know our cost structures, that's when we would come back to SEAC and say, here's what the deficit or surplus is. Here's what it is for the special ed envelope. Here's the way we're planning to deploy to support special education, and then ask for your thoughts and feedback at that point in time. And that's prior to the final decision on the budget being made, so that your input could be taken into that process. So that's what I would suggest as far as that. To your second part of the question around advocating for additional money, I think through the discussions we'll have with the supervisor, and I'm not in all the meetings with him, but I know we've had discussions on different topics with him over the time, and we will continue to have discussions, especially around the budget process with him. We will always show him what the challenges are within the overall board, as well as within special education, to make him aware of the issues, concerns there are with the resources versus the expenditures. And that's part of what his work with us is to look at.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you for coming in, and we would look forward to.
Sorry, David, I just wanted to clarify.
Oh,
I
sure.
apologize to interrupt. Just
Go ahead.
to be
Absolutely.
clear here, so see, the Children's Treatment Network is funded by MCCSS. So I want everyone who might not be aware of that. It is not funded through the Ministry of Education. They work collaboratively together. So this is the key time for collaboration to raise with the supervisor to get them together to understand this. So I just want that to be crystal clear, is that is being forgotten in this. So, if everyone knows this, I'm sure Nandy knows this, Louise, and everyone else here, but Craig, I'm sure you do as well, but we need to advocate for this, for them to get together, because that is the key root of this problem, and it will not be resolved unless they are at the same table to discuss it. Thank you.
Thanks so much. All right, Craig, thanks so much for coming today, and we will we'll follow up.
No problem. Everybody have a good evening.
All right, next on the agenda, and close to on time, I've asked if the staff could give us a briefing with respect to the forthcoming Student and Family Support Office. For the benefit of those who are newer to this, the province announced back on I think it was the 3rd of December, or shortly, or no, pardon me, before that, that they were directing all school boards to establish a Student and Family Support Office where families who are having a difficulty resolving an issue regarding the education of their child, any child, can contact that office for assistance. These boards under supervision are required to have those offices open earlier. If memory serves, it's the 15th of this month, which would be this Thursday, though Louise and Nandy, let me know if I got that wrong. And so with the doors about to open, and last month we passed a motion saying that I'm paraphrasing, should be specialty support provided for families of students with disabilities or special education needs. They should be routed to people who've got some expertise in that area. Wondering what this is going to look like in 3 days, and especially eager to know, since our recommendations were referred back to staff, what action staff have taken in response to our requests regarding that office.
Thanks, David. So with regards to the Student and Family Support Office, TDSB asks that students and families continue to follow the TDSB Parent Concern Protocol. Speak with the teacher first, principal and superintendent, of course, as necessary. If the family has already followed this process or feels that that the appropriate route to address the concern is the Student and Family Support Office, that is what the function of the office is, to provide another access point through a phone number and an email address, which will be shared with all TDSB families and shared publicly in the near future. The ministry has communicated that Monday, January 19th, will be the launch date of this office, and staff are currently working with the ministry to confirm final pieces. Staff will continue to work with staff within the Student and Family Support Office to increase understanding of special education at the TDSB and how to best support addressing questions and concerns that come forward to the office in a timely manner. So we have always collaborated with staff at the school level as well as across departments to support families, and we'll continue to do that and to build capacity in that area. Thanks.
All right. Questions, anyone, or comments? Well, I'll take the speakers list if anyone has any. Nope. Oh, Nora, go for it. And while Nora's speaking, if others want to chime in, just raise your hand, and Jordan's tracking for it.
Thanks. So my understanding from the answer is then that there will not be specialized staff in the family support office that knows special education, and that your department's using what little time you have left to support additional people to understand that role. So just to share the experience of many parents that I've come in contact with, they follow the parent of concern protocol. Following the parent of concern protocol wasn't the issue. The issue was how they felt that process served their needs. And what inevitably happened was it goes up to the superintendent and then came right back down to the very people they felt weren't listening to them. So my feeling right now, and I'm trying not to bring my bias to this, the family support office, but I'm feeling like this is going to be the same kind of thing, because I don't know how a small office with very few people, fewer than a group of trustees, is going to manage all the calls that used to go to trustees and do anything with any kind of authority or knowledge when it's that tiny group of people and there's a large number of issues that flow up. So how does this not create either A, it's a backlog to get to talk to somebody in there, get a response from them, or B, it's really the parent of concern protocol basically stops with the superintendent?
Thanks, Nora. So I just want to confirm for everyone that when trustees were in place, all of the concerns that went to trustees actually did come back to staff, and staff were the ones that would address it or else support the trustee in responding to the family. And so that would be the same process as well. And there are also timelines. Again, I shared earlier that the final pieces are being worked out, but the ministry has stated clearer timelines to school boards in terms of when they're to be getting back to families. So I'm not anticipating a backlog that you refer to, because there are strict timelines within which we have to work.
Just from my perspective, it looks like business as usual, despite it being a new office. I'm just pointing that out.
Okay, Latoya.
Thanks. I think some of the reservation or one of the main ones that I have is that we currently have, I think they're called education officers or with the ministry. So where if there is a concern, parents can call those, can call that phone number, and they can, or they should be able to have those concerns addressed from daycares to schools as well. Is this, it kind of feels like a duplication of services and additional funding, I guess, that's going towards it. Do you know if there's been any update or any reallocation so that way we do have more funding available, I guess, for schools? And also, over time, the office with the Minister of Education, I guess it gets forgotten about unless people will contact or know about this. And it's like, is this new approach, is it replacing that? And if so, what are we doing to ensure that, parents are aware of it, has it as a way that they can contact, and not just as an option to call, only to be heard, that the parents need to go back to the principal. Sorry, that's my question.
So thank you. And through the chair, I just wanted to reiterate. So there are no new resources that have been provided for this office. So this office has been created by the school board using existing resources that we have available. So no new funding was provided. It is an opportunity for the board to assist parents and families in navigating TDSB. And so again, there is the expectation that we would be using still the parent concern protocol, but it will provide possible assistance in how to navigate that protocol. And then it will, if the protocol has been followed, triage the next steps that would be required in order to address the concerns of the parent. So that's the intention here. It doesn't replace anything at the ministry level. This is purely about TDSB and ensuring that we are supporting our students and families as best as possible.
Okay.
All right, and just a follow up to that, because I guess with the hope of like that very strong intentionality in terms of addressing these concerns. I heard a parent even at one of the meetings that they had for special education in this learning center, where they were raising the concern, and the instruction was to go back to the principal, and you could hear that despondence in the parents' voice as they say, okay, I guess fighting is the only option. So it's, my hope is that there is a significant amount of intentionality to rebuild bridges and for them to really start to take action, because for parents who are coming and who are going this far, they're already exhausted. And even if they can't speak to all the different avenues that they've gone, by the time they have come to this point, it's an exhaustion. So I'm hoping that there is a level of intentionality, not to just hand the parent back to the principal, but to actually handhold the situation and keeping that conversation going with the parent.
Okay, Anne?
Thank you, Chair. I just have a quick question. Will this Student Family Support Office be able to investigate concerns or mediate resolutions at all?
Stacy, is that one that you should take?
Thank you. So the school principal under the Education Act has certain responsibilities, as well as the school superintendent. And so through the chair, depending on what the issue is, it will be directed to the principal or the superintendent to work with appropriate department staff. The office's role is to ensure that that's done and done in a timely manner, and to follow up if needed with the family that is reaching out to the office. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Bronwyn.
Yes, thank you. I think the support office will be excellent. The thing that I'm going to be realistic. I mean, in systems, in the medical system, when you get a diagnosis, it's the similar process where there's medical professionals or educators. They're not trained for the emotional grieving and trauma that comes in all this process. So I am not expecting these professionals to be trained in this way. So I'm being very realistic. I don't see magic things happening with this. I think it's a good idea, but I think from a cost-effective approach, and we've been using this method in the deaf and hard of hearing community for years, is the parent to parent support to be unbiased, not to have parents that are, vengeance and hating the TDSB and people who are angry, but if you have a parent there that is losing their minds and grieving and crying, and you are not professionally trained to support them in that way, and nor should you be, there should be a parent contact list or a rep from an organization that they can refer them to. And again, this comes back to the collaboration practice that I think really needs to be thinking outside of the box in a cost-effective way. In the deaf and hard of hearing program that we have, we are advocating to have paid parent mentors because it is such a time commitment. This could be something looked at as a pilot project, as a role model, to look to see how other provinces are doing it successfully. In BC, it's a big success. So I would really like this to be brought back to get the parent-to-parent support in these times of trauma, and to not expect these professionals to magically be able to emotionally support them, because it's not possible.
All right, Leo, I think, is the last person, unless anyone wants to raise their hand. Leo, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just really struggling, and perhaps it's a me issue, and someone can explain a little bit better. But when you read the announcement for the province, and I understand that there's no additional money, but when you read the announcement for the province, you understand what the intent is and the purpose of this new office. And then when we go back to what we're hearing now, it seems to me that it's status quo and it's what we had before, which completely removes the virtue from what was being proposed in in the office from the province in the first place. So I don't understand. Maybe someone can clarify what I'm missing here, but it seems that somehow the provincial intent was able to be transformed with words into exactly status quo. I'm lost. I'm sorry.
So thank you, and through the chair, and I'm just reading what the province indicated that this was going to be. And it said that they were requiring school boards to establish this so that parents and guardians have a clear, effective way to help or to get help regarding their child's education and find solutions faster. So I think that that's what you will or are hearing. It says they'll act as an additional way to help families get answers on broader community concerns. So it's not that the office is going to answer the questions. It is about navigating the system, because the system can be challenging to navigate. And so I don't see it as an additional problem-solving area, but I do see it as a tool that will certainly help families to find the right people to speak to and to do it in a timely manner, because there are expectations with regards to timelines for how quickly families receive responses.
We've got Nora and Jessica, but first, Stacey, I'd just like to follow up with you on that. And you're caught in the context of the transition, because I had this conversation at this table with Clayton a month ago. But just so you understand, here's what my worry is, and I think this crystallizes what Bronwyn, Nora, and a number of people are saying. There's two things this could be. As a practical matter, not wrapping it up in formal technical language. It could be a place that if I call up and I say, look, my child, I've talked to the principal, I've talked to the superintendent, my child has this problem, they're not getting X, they need X. And it could be a place that simply, essentially, is a process facilitating. You need to talk to these people, this is who you got to call, I want to make sure you got the right number. Or they'll call up the superintendent and say, well, as the superintendent told you, they're going to tell them the same thing all over again. That's one. Let me just contrast. That's one possibility. The other possibility is I call up and I say, my child isn't getting X, and it's a problem, and it's affecting their education. And the person taking the call says, have you talked to the principal? Yes. Have you talked to the superintendent? Yes. What have they told you? So on. And at that point, the call taker, whoever they are, could call up, talk to the principal and or the teacher and or the superintendent, and they might say, well, wait a minute, their understanding is X. Have you tried the following? And try to actually broker a solution, not direct or order a solution, but facilitate a problem solver. And if they can, they can. And if they can't, they say, look, it's unresolvable. Or it may be that the person's complaint turns out when they talk to the principal, there's nothing to it, that they misunderstood or something. It could be any range of that. But the call taker could be simply, here are the rules, here's the process. We want to make sure you've gone, if I can borrow from what Nandy was saying, and I may have misunderstood it, but we just want to make sure you've gone through the parent protocol. And if you have and it didn't solve it, that's it. Or it's an office that goes beyond process and is trying to be an effective, proactive problem solver. What are you planning?
So through the chair, I think you indicate the first obviously will be to go to the parent concern protocol. If the parent concern protocol has been followed and no resolution, then to your point, this is where the office will try to work with the superintendent and whatever other staff are required in order to see if there are any other possible solutions. At the end, it may be, I'm sorry, the answer that you received all the way along is still the answer, but there will be a second look at it above and beyond the parent concern protocol. That's the intention.
Okay, that is substantially better and obviously holds a certain amount, a real promise. And especially in light of the fact that sometimes the superintendent has no control. Like it's a problem with busing. You know, the superintendent doesn't run busing. So there's only so much they can do other than say, you know, here's what we've been told. Anyway, enough of me. Nora, and then Jessica. And then,
I think Jessica was next, then.
oh, Jessica, and then Nora.
Thanks for the opportunity. I want to, I guess, rephrase David's question in another way. So in the last year, I've sat with families going through the special education appeal board process. And every time families said they had a wealth of people who are willing to recite rules to them and an absolute dearth of people who are willing to listen to them, to understand the problem that they were trying to address. And it wasn't until they reached the appeal board that they had someone who actually stopped to listen. And in each case, the appeal board turned to staff and said, why is this the first time that the TDSB is listening to the parents? So I'm wondering, how do we achieve a cultural shift so that parents feel like they were actually listened to when they were going through that parent concern protocol? Because we are often pointed at rules, pointed at the special education plans, told, look at regulation X, when that's not what the family needs. The family needs somebody to actually understand the concerns that they have and to sit with them and help to resolve those concerns. And what I'm hearing from colleagues on SEACs and other boards is that other boards do successfully do this, but that the TDSB has a reputation for simply reciting rules and not listening to families. And I think that that's what all of my colleagues here are saying, is that we would like someone in this process to really stop and listen and understand what the problem is rather than telling us what the rules are.
Okay, thank you. Nora.
Thanks. I guess I just have two follow-up questions. One is, so when calls come into the office, and Nandy, you'd mentioned timelines and timeframes, things have to be answered within. If it's a human rights issue, is that prioritized? Is that sped up because it comes ahead of my kid didn't make the volleyball team? And will that office report that to your human rights office? And then I have a second question after that. Do you want to hear both or want to talk?
I'll do this one,
Okay.
Nora. So their processes, one of the great things about special education is that there's a process for most things. So we have a process for filing a human rights complaint as an example, and that's done through the Human Rights Office. We have IPRC appeals that Jessica referenced a minute ago. So that's another process as well. And so the office, again, works very closely with all departments, depending on what the concern is. And we would continue to do that to support families. So that would be all part of the process as well.
So I'm sort of, what I'm hearing and interpreting is basically the responsibility for actually supporting the family. It's absolutely laying elsewhere with the people who are already trying to do that. So this office is not really like you've had to find money from other departments to build an office that's not really serving, is my perspective. And I guess the second thing will be, the navigation, now that you've talked about navigation, is it going to direct people right back to the superintendent and to the principal? Because I'm going to say in my lived experience, when I try to direct families to internal special education staff, I am frequently told that they should not be talking to internal special education staff because that's for, I guess, the school in the field to talk to, but not parents, and that internal special education staff can't override school staff because they're colleagues. So if the parent of concern protocol is the only recourse families are going to get, I don't get why you need an office for it. If all that's going to happen is they're going to say, go back to the superintendent and go back to the principal because outsiders aren't allowed to know who's on the inside to get information, what's the point of the office?
So Nora, you know very well that special education staff, as an example, work to support students directly in classrooms. If we're looking to shift support that they're working full-time to respond to parents, I don't think that's, where we want to see them be. And I don't think in conversation with you, that's what you want to see either. However, we do have situations where special education staff work alongside and support in meetings, for example. They're part of ISTs, they're part of school support team meetings, they're also part of family meetings as well. But again, under the Education Act, as an example, and we've talked very much about this at SEAC and with SEAC, the IEP, the Individual Education Plan, is an example under the Ed Act. It is the responsibility of the principal and the teacher. And so a teacher consultant or coordinator, as an example, or even a centrally assigned principal, cannot oversee the teacher implementing an effective IEP, as an example. So again, we would be working to support the principal and the teacher to ensure that an effective IEP, for example, is written and implemented. So it's a total partnership and collaboration to best support students and families, and that's what we will continue to do.
And that's why I asked the question, Andy, because I know how hard your staff work. I'm not implying that they do not. What I'm saying is the navigation is literally what you see on the parent of concern protocol and nothing more. There is no more other navigation. The public will be directed to exactly what they already read. And now you've been forced to find money to establish an office, which I would argue there are families that have watched this meeting that could not get supports they were hoping for. And if we were picking staff or how to reallocate staff, would rather have seen other staff hired. But you've literally got an office now that's going to send you right back to, here's the SO, here's the principal. That's the full extent of the plan. The teacher, the principal, the SO. I don't think that needs a whole office. And I understand that's not your decision. I understand like the board had to follow it. It's just my understanding that I'm not really sure what this gets us. Thank you.
Stacy, I'm just going to wrap this up with a request that you're going to want to, you can't answer on the spot, and I completely understand it. If the minutes reflect this request, I'm happy. If not, we can do a formal motion next month to that end. I want to ask if we can get briefed at some point. I want to ask that the office keep records of the requests they're getting and the resolution, not for us to see individual cases, but I think that both for you as the Director of Education, for your senior staff, the aggregate information you get back of what people are calling about and what worked can be very, very helpful for planning. And I have experience with this. I'm going to tell you what, very briefly. Very positive experience outside the education context, and I urge you to follow it. And it would help us too if we got briefed at some point on the trends. There is a provincial committee on which I sit called the Ontario Courts Accessibility Committee. Its role is to oversee progress towards an accessible court system. It has representatives from judges of the courts, the government, the legal profession, and the disability community. It's been around for about 18, 20 years. It's got a really good track record. I've had the privilege of serving on it since it started. It's co-chaired by a justice of our Court of Appeal and the Assistant Deputy Attorney General for Court Services. So we're talking about some pretty serious people in charge. Each courthouse, court facility has an access and accommodation coordinator who can help people from the public if they're involved in court and they need a disability accommodation. They keep these kind of records. We get aggregated reports every year or so. We've got an X number of requests, X percentage are about hearing loss, X percentage are about visual, whatever. It has helped us understand what kind of demands there and needs there are. It helped the government see that the most common request for accommodation were people with hearing loss. It led the government to say, hey, we got to do something about this. And they then systematically installed better audio equipment in a number of courts. You see how individual complaints, aggregating the information, learning from the experience, and the information feeds to the government for its own policy planning, but to our committee for giving advice. I think there's a direct analogy here. Now, this is before day one. You guys have to rush to get the doors open. Understood. But it would be helpful if staff could get back to us when they're ready and when experience is up and running to see if there's way to track trends and let us know about it. And I think you, as in your acting director of education role, would want to know about those trends. Anyway, all I could say is, can you take it away? I'm not asking for an answer, but I would like the request, which I think is important to be in the minutes. And if not, I can bring a motion next meeting. Thanks to staff on this. Let's move to, oh, sorry, Jean-Paul and Nora have comments. I think this is so important that I'm happy to keep going. Jean-Paul and then Nora.
Thank you, David. I think I'm sorry, I don't know if I missed something here. This Student and Family Support Office, I think when I read the mandate, I don't see they say that, it will help resolve matters that need to be escalated following initial engagement with child, teacher, and principal. And when I look at, the parent, the parent protocol concern protocol, there's a reference beyond principal to the superintendent or even board staff. I was wondering if with the establishment of this Student and Family Support Office, the protocol will be reviewed to factor in the existence of this new established office, because otherwise it's still kind of, maybe I'm missing something. It's still kind of confusing.
Yeah, thank you. And through the chair, we are looking at whether or not the parent concern protocol stands on its own or it does need to include this office. And so that is a review that we're doing right now. And I think you're right. Like when the ministry does talk about it, it stops at the principal level, and the parent concern protocol refers to the superintendent. And obviously, if a parent is calling and they're calling because the resolution that they or the conversations that they've had with the superintendent, they would still like to escalate it further, that's where this office will come in and triage to determine, are there different people that we need to bring around the table? So I think the parent concern protocol does still continue and stand on its own, and in fact I think goes a little bit further than what you see from the ministry with regards to this office. So I think that the office will help to bring the right people around the table and make sure that the concerns are being dealt with by the right people, and again with a time expectation on it as well.
Okay, and was it Nora? Nora.
I had a question for you, David, about the minutes. So regarding the conversation, for the minutes about this conversation, do we have to make a motion to list the fact that we had concerns that it's going to potentially be status quo? And do we have to pass the minutes to say that our recommendation would be that data would be taken?
I think at this point, because we've got some other stuff to do, I think that we take it away and decide we may want to come forward with a motion for the next meeting. But we also will have the benefit of let's see the first few weeks of this operating, and we can see how best to proceed. I think that's the best idea at this point. But if someone wants to bring a motion, it's, of course, I'm open to it. All right, let's thank you for this. Could we move now to the leadership report? And within the leadership report, I believe you're going to be, among other things, addressing an update on the staff action plan, among other things. So Nandy, Louise, if you could do both, either as you wish.
Thank you. Leah, next slide, please, for the, thank you. So the first item that I'll be sharing is our parent engagement sessions for January 2026. And Special Education and Inclusion continues to offer a number of drop-in and topic-specific sessions for parents, guardians, caregivers for the 2025-2026 school year. We have advertised these sessions as well as on our website through principals in their own blogs or school newsletters, and families are encouraged to attend. On our website as well, I'm just reminding SEAC members that all sessions previously held, these are not the drop-in sessions, but the formal parent engagement sessions. They have been recorded and posted on the Special Education and Inclusion website on the parent engagement sessions page. And so families can actually access those previous sessions offered. Additional qualifications courses. The department is pleased to offer a range of additional qualification courses during the winter and spring terms. We actually just started a new session, additional qualification session with 21 participants enrolled. We have special education parts 1 and 2 that began on January 6th with a full cohort of students, their teachers participating. And during the fall term, we did offer our teaching students with communication needs autism to 22 participants. And we will be offering this course again in the spring. And we're anticipating a full cohort there again as well. This month, we were able to feature across the TDSB a story about a student at Don Mills Collegiate that had a job at Evergreen Brickworks. And Nicholas is a student at Don Mills Collegiate who loves nature. And so he had a summer adventure camp placement at Evergreen Brickworks, where he participated in a number of activities that he actually led, including arts and crafts activities and free play, and also nature walks where campers searched for turtles and explored the trails. So he was able to participate as a leader in this program, and his placement was part of the Focus on Youth Toronto summer program, which is supported by the occupational therapy and physiotherapy team within the Special Education and Inclusion Department. Nicholas and his family were very happy for us to share his story. And we continue to support students through Project Search, which is a ministry-funded initiative to encourage students with developmental disabilities to participate in work sites and work opportunities. Next slide, please. With regards to the action plan update, we have looked very intentionally at the implementation of the individual education plan audit tool, and we have also created a best practices guide for writing and implementing effective individual education plans. We've started to do this work with a series of schools across the district, and the entire department has had professional learning on this as well, so coordinators, consultants, and centrally assigned principals. And we are now supporting a number of superintendents to do this work and to use this audit tool with some of their schools, with the intention, of course, of rolling it out to all superintendents and all schools. So monitoring impact is a focus of the plan, using both quantitative and qualitative data. We will be able to track the number of modified IEPs, and we will be using pre and post surveys for staff and parents to measure changes related to the creation and the implementation of effective IEPs. Looking also at educator competence and confidence in writing and implementing IEPs, and parent engagement as part of the process. Of course, we know that we need to be consulting with families in throughout the IEP process, but also in the IEP itself. We would also be using surveys to improve the tool and preparing for, again, implementation across the district with all superintendents. Next slide, please. So removing barriers for students with disabilities, ministries grant. These are the grants from last year. And again, we were able to have funding for 5 of our grants. So this was the last update on the last project that we used grant funds for. Individuals with disabilities face more barriers to employment and lower employment rates than their non-disabled peers. And so the Hire This Kid initiative set out to address some of these barriers. The Occupational Therapy Physiotherapy Services team connected with over 300 businesses to understand why they were not offering placements to students with disabilities. Some barriers were beyond TDSB's influence, such as labor management restrictions, while others were manageable, such as building employers' competence and confidence in addressing concerns about students' workplace readiness skills. And in response, this team developed resources for educators to support students in areas such as self-advocacy, professionalism, and workplace routines, so that when they were able to enter some of these businesses, that they had the skills needed. Next slide, please. EQAO data each year, and this started a few years ago with the PAC on SEAC calendar, where we were providing for SEAC EQAO data, and we've included that in this meeting mailout for the 24-25 school year. System overall, the TDSB largely held the line in the 2024-2025 EQAO results, with grade 3 EQAO results virtually mirroring the previous year, and grade 6 EQAO results being slightly higher for reading and writing and staying the same for math. In the secondary panel, grade 9 math and grade 10 OSS LT results were mostly unchanged from the previous year. That's TDSB students overall. In terms of students with special education needs, excluding gifted, achieving at levels 3 and 4 in grade 3 EQAO, these students achieved at rates between 32 to 37% lower than the TDSB overall achievement levels that I just shared. By grade 6, the gap in EQAO levels 3 and 4 declines for both reading and writing to 27 to 28%, and scores are 32% lower for math. So the achievement patterns that we saw for the 24-25 EQAO results are similar to those that we saw in 2023 and 2024. Next slide, please, Leanne. And the TDSB, as we know, supports several students who rely on Braille for accessing their curricular materials, and World Braille Day was held on January 4th, which serves to raise awareness about the significance of Braille. January 4th marks the birthday of Louis Braille. And that brings me to the end of my leadership report. Thanks.
All right, thank you. I want to open it to questions. I'm going to be bringing a motion regarding the staff action plan, but it's not contingent on the content of the report. So I'd rather have everyone ask whatever questions they'd like first. Do you want to take a speakers list?
Already got one started. Richard's up first.
Okay, Rich, let's give which names have we got so far? Richard, Nora, Latoya, and others can just let Jordan know. Go ahead, Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And through you, Mr. Chair, I have 3 questions, basically. The conversation that there was a number of, I guess, drop-in sessions in January and programs for parents, etc. I know I've asked multiple times in the past how members of SEAC who are not parents of students attending school now can receive copies of this information when it's released to the families, Or is there one location on the website that we can go to on a regular basis and find all these communications because they're invaluable? That's the first question. The next one, Nandy talked about Project Search. I'm curious to know how many students at the TDSB are actually involved in Project Search versus how many could be involved if funding was available. And don't have to answer that question now, but would like to see an answer for that. And, I want to go and make a comment here, approximately almost 10 years now past when my daughter graduated from the TDSB, and we're still looking at work options, etc. And it's great to focus on those that have gotten jobs, and I heard in Nandy's conversation that she is, in fact, the board is focusing on other areas where students haven't received and found gainful employment and some of the barriers. And I see a huge opportunity for our associations to, receive this information, feedback on what's going on, and how we, not to say work with the board, but take this and implement it within our associations. It seems to me it would be invaluable information that I don't think we have at our fingertips. And the last question, I guess it was 4 altogether, the EQAO results for students in special education. How many students in, the DD programs, the MID, ISPs, etc., are omitted and or excluded from writing these EQAO exams? I'd be curious to know. And those numbers may be in the presentation. I haven't looked at it in detail yet. So feel free to answer any of those now or at a future point through any follow-up. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. So Project Search comes with parameters, and we currently have 10 students in our Project Search cohort, and we're actually looking to get a second group going. With regards to the engagement sessions, I've repeatedly shared that on the TDSB special education site, there's a section called Parent Engagement Sessions, and all of the sessions have been listed there since September 2026 for the entire school year. And so as we complete sessions, we delete them because the list is quite long. So right now, if you go on the site, you should be seeing sessions offered from January to June 2026. With regards to the exemptions that you're asking about, we have that information, and I can certainly share with you that the majority of exemptions for EQAO actually occurred in grades 3 and 6, and there were no exemptions in grade 9 and very few in grade 10. Students can only be exempted from the OSSLT if their IEP indicates that they're not working towards an OSSD, Ontario Secondary School Diploma. And so I could share more information on that, but if you look through the data that I provided, it's also in that chart. So all of the information you're looking for, Richard, is in the chart that was provided. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. So I had a couple of questions just about the IEP work. I'm hoping that a lot of the collaboration that Latoya and I did for the review, the special education review, will be in the surveys that would be going through for the IEP. So when you say you're monitoring the impact, is focus on the plan utilizing both quantitative and qualitative data, and it talks about surveys to families. So will some of those questions that we consulted on be included in that? And so I guess really my big question is, can the SEAC committee, the full committee, see the audit tool, the best practices guide, and then the survey so that we can contribute?
Thanks, Nora. So this survey is not the survey from the review that you're talking about. This is an operational piece that staff are working alongside because we're piloting it right now with a few superintendents, as I mentioned, and a few schools. So we're looking at what we're doing in that process and getting feedback from that. So it would be to a specific group of families, for example, and a specific group of teachers and principals and superintendents, the surveys that we would be looking at doing, not all TDSB families and not all TDSB staff. So this is completely different. And we do have an update on the review that Stacy would be sharing as part of this leadership report, but I'm trying to get the questions through from the report before we get to that.
Okay. And will we be able to see the tools and the surveys and the
I'll
best
have
practices
to take that
guide?
back because it's something that we're working on with staff. However, what I can tell you 100% is that the 5 meetings that we had as part of creating this action plan with you and others on SEAC, we've looked at that and taken that into consideration and inputted a lot of that into the work that we're doing. So those meetings were very helpful, and comments from families as well as the TDSB action plan working group were all used to create what we were creating.
Yeah. I just was hoping that the rest of the committee would have a chance to sort of see that more specifically. So that's my request would be that we be able to see the resources. And then I just wanted to finish with the survey that was planned with that special education review team was quite comprehensive. Like, I was impressed with the work that that team put together, that I hope that some of that work also would have been, I understand it's a different survey, but there was a lot of really valuable questions in there about IEPs and their implementation. And it would be a shame for all that work that the board had been doing about the special education review not to be used.
Thank you for your thoughts. We'll bring that back and take that under advisement.
Okay, just before Latoya and then Diane, and then I'm going to wrap this up for now because I just want to get to one other item. I was wondering if you could, 2 things. One is, could you, I want to echo the request that we see those documents. And even if they're works in progress, I think it would be best if we could see them, because we might set up a working group to give you feedback on them rather than have you finalize them, then we give you feedback and it's too late because you've already finalized them. So if you could take that back and let us know, and if it, again, it's the kind of thing I'd like the minutes to reflect. If not, we can bring a motion formally asking for them at the next meeting, but I'd rather not have to do that. The other question is, could you just give us some more detail about the audit process? That is to say, as I understand your report, the superintendent will have an audit tool, will decide that a certain number of students' IEPs will be audited. And then what happens? For one thing, who decides and how many? And who does the actual audits? And where does the result of the audit go? In other words, if they find out that there are deficiencies or whatever, or really good ideas, whatever, where does all that go? Or is that still a work in progress?
Thanks, David. So this is still a work in progress, but all schools need to engage in school improvement processes and looking at students that they serve. And this is part of that school improvement process. So when a superintendent visits a school, for example, to meet with the principal to look at students and how the students are achieving or not achieving in the school, the IEP conversation or audit tool would be a part of that. And so they would be looking at a number of students to be determined. Each school is different. However, the tool itself would remain the same. The tool was created, and again, it's a work in progress. It's staff's work, staff's to action, and it's based on the requirements, as we know, that individual education plans must have certain pieces in them. So one is an accountability framework from that regard. What are the pieces? Are the pieces there? But then the other piece is a shared responsibility framework, where we're looking at what are the specific strengths and areas of need for that student, and does the IEP reflect that? And then what is the programming in the classroom to support that? So it's a very extensive process that needs to be worked through with the superintendent, the principal, and the teachers of the students that we're looking at. We also have ministry pieces that we need to be able to respond to. So one of the pieces, for example, that the ministry asks us for KPIs or key performance indicators on is the number of modified IEPs that we have. So we would be looking at that as well. And that's all part of the process that we're trying to build out. Thanks.
Yeah, Nandy,
sorry, go ahead. I just
Thank-
want to know who's actually auditing the
Yeah.
actual IEP. Sorry.
So, yeah, thanks very much, David. I want to put the discussion about IEP audits in a context and caution SEAC. I can sense you're getting very, very excited about this concept, and that is great. First of all, this is attached to an action plan where we have committed to improving the implementation of IEPs, their language, their adherence. We heard that certainly from parents, from SEAC, as well as observations from staff. So the work that Nandy is doing as far as the guideline is a really important anchor document. And it's a document that is going to be used by a school team to be reflecting on the work that they're doing and providing professional learning together with our support staff. It is meant for internal use to continue to strengthen the IEPs and the skill of our leadership team and our educators. It's not something that is going to be scored and results presented to senior team or to SEAC. It really is grounded in professional learning with the goal of increasing and enhancing our IP. So just wanting to put it in that framework for SEAC to understand. We will continue to share with you the progress on the guideline, as well as how many schools that we're in and the feedback that we're getting from teams, and more to come. So it is still in development. So please, we'll take your questions and ideas under advisement as we're continuing to work on this project. Thanks, David.
Okay, just to be clear, I mean, we may have to bring a motion. We'll deal with that next meeting. If I spend $5, we get a freedom of information request. It has to be produced, so it would. I hope we don't have to, but let's follow through on this, and you can reflect on it too.
And we'll take that comment under advisement. Thank you, David.
Yeah. But my question about the audit, when you say audit, the idea that it communicates, at least to me, teachers developed and team has developed an IEP, students got it. Someone else at TDSB is looking at it and assessing it based on the kind of factors like Nandy talked about. And so someone who wasn't involved in developing it is taking a look at it, and then, as Louise said, is using that for, learning, professional development, and hopefully improving the IEP if it's deficient. That's me talking what I would assume it means. And so my question is, who's auditing the IEP? Is it somebody else at the school? Is it people from another school? Is it the Spec Ed Central folks? Is it the superintendent?
Thanks.
Go ahead, Nandy.
Thanks for the question, David.
Or is it under decision? You haven't figured that out yet.
No. So under the Ed Act again, principals are responsible for individual education plans. They sign off on every single individual education plan. So the principal will be a part of that, the superintendent, and any teaching staff that they bring into that process. Because it's a new process, that's to be determined at the school level. However, because the principal is responsible for the individual education plan, they will absolutely be involved in that process. Special education staff is there to support with capacity building, with deepening understanding of the superintendent, of the principal, as well as school-based staff, as needed for writing and creating and implementing effective IEPs. But it is the responsibility of the principal of the school, as well as the teachers who teach the students and who are implementing the IEPs. So they must be a part of that process. Thanks.
So I understand. Are they auditing themselves is my question, or is somebody else?
Yeah, sorry, David. I think your question is a really important one. What we're envisioning is a process, and I think we need to reflect on the language, because I can see where you and other members of SEAC are thinking about what a financial audit looks like as an example. So we may want to reframe this, rename this as certainly an IEP guideline, but a self-reflection tool. So we'll take away your questions and your wondering and try and be more precise, but it is meant to be a collaborative experience with the school team, together with the guidelines and the support of central staff.
All right. Okay, over. Thanks, Latoya. Latoya, and then Diane.
Yeah, it looks like the audit, I do really appreciate the word audit, but again, I come from a financial background, so that's a little bit different. With that one, I not so much about the how, because I think once you get out the gate and you start working with it, there's definitely going to be some changes that are going to be made. So, and I'm hopeful that, based on everything else that everyone else has shared, that there will be some things that's shared with SEAC down the road. But focusing on the teachers, I know I was in speaking with some of teachers, either colleagues or otherwise. There is sometimes this inherent fear of feeling like they have failed or like about to receive some form of a punitive response. And I love that you say that it's going to be collaborative. So I'll just ask that that is really communicated very clearly, so that way there can be a lot of data gathering in terms of what is currently working, what the teachers are doing in innovation. We call it workarounds. So what they're currently doing to work around, there may be a concrete way to go about something, like reaching out to the OT, PT department instead of the teachers themselves trying to figure something out. Or, maybe it's something that the board themselves learn. So it's really just, for me, that innovation cap that's coming out to say this is a great opportunity to really just get down to the level of what parents are experiencing. But in order to do that, the teachers will need to also feel like they can safely make a lot of mistakes. And if it can be communicated for them to, even share some of their workarounds, and it's not only a look at the IEP, but maybe there is some qualitative data that's, gathers the way they feel like they're participants in this, not like someone whose paycheck can be affected by it. So that's basically, and something else. Sometimes on the IEP, like, they put on there the amount of time that a student spends with a special ed. And, I'm curious to, you don't have to answer now, but, how that will be captured in this type of review, or if there are future plans to capture it to see, how that is getting completed, and if it is getting completed at all. So it's
okay. I'm going to
give you an opportunity there. Thanks.
Thank you for your suggestions.
I take it that was feedback rather than a specific question. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Diane, and then I'm going to do association reports, defer my motion on the staff action plan to next meeting so we can wrap up quickly. And I've just got a couple of closing remarks. Diane, go ahead.
David, Interim Director Zucker does have a second part for the leadership report. That is important.
Oh, I didn't. Okay, completely didn't know. Okay, Diane, ask your question and then Steve.
Yep, I have. Yep. Thanks again for that update. I'm on the same topic as everybody else is talking about, the excitement about the IEP audit. I am also excited about it, and really glad that we're taking the feedback that we have to put this in place. So my questions, a couple things. You've answered a few things, but what I wanted to find out, I understand you're at the early stage and you're doing pilot, which is great. And you can't really do more until you do a pilot. Perfect. The pilot itself, though, you mentioned it was going to be a number of different schools. Will they be a combination of different settings, meaning small group and inclusion or inclusive classrooms is what I'm really focusing on. So are we going to do any pilots in a mainstream classroom, Or is it are you piloting it just in a small setting? Because that's very different. And we need to get the feedback from both types of settings. So that's kind of one of my big things. Because if it's only a pilot and it's a few classes, it probably can be done, I'm assuming. And then the second thing that I wanted to find out was the timelines for the pilot. Like, so how long do you think you're going to pilot before you can go to the next stage? Just an average sort of sense kind of thing would be nice to hear. And then also, as we know, there's lots of strategies in IEPs that can also be used, for the entire class and UDL and all that stuff. Is there going to be some kind of component within your audit or your tool or something to help teachers realize how they can implement the IEP and share it with the rest of the class? So it's not going to be, I guess my fear, following up from Latoya, is it's more of not just putting it in place, but helping the teachers not be overwhelming. So it's not about, okay, you're gonna overwhelm me, but how are we gonna save us time? How are we gonna help everybody? How are we gonna help the teachers as well as help the students, as well as do everything we want to do? I know that's a lot of questions, but I just wanted a better sense of that, because I think this is a great thing that you're doing. And I think start is something good if we can hit all those marks.
Thanks, Diane. So really quickly, yes, it will be a range of supports. So regular class, ISBs, we're looking at different students in different settings. And of course, this is only one component. As we produce a monthly list of parent engagement sessions, we also have a monthly list for staff of all the professional learning that we do with them. So UDL, DI, all of those pieces are built into the supports that we're offering. And I shared earlier that our focus is going to be building capacity of staff throughout this. So how do you appropriately modify program, for example, for students? So the findings from the each IEP audit or reflection or whatever we call it will be, okay, this is what was done really well. Here are some areas that we can improve on. Here is how we're going to support you in that area. So this whole process is really meant to be about shared accountability and shared responsibility for student success via their IEP and classroom teaching and learning strategies. Thanks.
But more importantly, the timeline was the last question. How long do you anticipate the pilot?
Yeah, so we're looking at starting this now. In January, we've started and looking at going into June, concluding the year. So January to June with these schools, and then adding more schools in September. Depending on how it goes, we'll know if we're planning to do a full rollout or not for September 2026.
Great, thank you.
If I may, Diane, thanks for those suggestions. SEAC members, this was, again, our whole hope for our action plan, the 3 areas, and us talking to you frequently, reporting back, listening to your ideas, tweaking, and finding ways to report back our findings to you, and our commitment to show where we've grown, where we're still working, what the needs are. So know that we'll be thinking about ways to report that back to you and to continue the conversation. Thank you. And
before we go to Stacy, I just want to wrap up that conversation with just one, I think, important point. And that is with respect to the whole idea of audits, I hope staff, when they take this back, don't remove that word. I hope they do what that word says. And it doesn't have to be inconsistent with anything that staff are trying to achieve. In my view, when I spoke about the staff action plan at an earlier meeting, I said I thought that the audit requirement or commitment was the single most important thing that this plan adds. That's me speaking. It's also been recommended, exactly that measure, an audit process by the Kindergarten to Grade 12 Standards Development Committee, a joint recommendation of educators and disability sector representatives almost 4 years ago. So it would be very sad if by asking about it, we find out we're actually losing it, not because we asked, but rather it's a good thing we should have it. That's just my view. Let's go over to Stacy for the second part of the leadership report. I'm then going to do association reports. I'm going to have 1 minute to wrap up, and then we'll be done. Stacy, over to you.
Thank you. And through the chair, I am going to be sharing an update on the special education review. And there are some changes to the approach that I will outline. So our work continues to focus on strengthening supports for our classrooms and delivering better learning outcomes for students. Across our schools, offices, and neighborhoods, the TDSB remains committed to helping every learner feel welcomed in environments where they can belong, achieve, and thrive. And one of our immediate priorities is strengthening the achievement and outcomes for students with special education needs and disabilities. So with regard to the review, as part of the multi-year strategic plan introduced last year, we are starting to look at how we can further improve the work that we do to support students. Over the coming months, our research department and our special education and inclusion department will be looking at the research along with evidence-based best practices from across the country and around the world. This work will be focused on 3 main areas. 1, how to strengthen special education supports and programs. 2, how to address disparities in access to programs and improve student achievement and outcomes. Sorry, that was 3, improve student achievement and outcomes. As you know, Dr. Jillian Parekh has agreed to lead this work in collaboration with the research and special education departments. To expedite achieving the goals that I outlined, we will not be proceeding with comprehensive surveys, but we will collect advice and feedback from various stakeholders through focus groups discussions later in the process. Early work is already underway and will be completed over the next 2 years. Phase 1 will be a cross-jurisdictional scan of sector best practices. Phase 2 will see the completion of a report with evidence-informed recommendations. Once that report has been completed, we will share these early findings and recommendations with SEAC to seek feedback in your capacity as an advisory body. And our goal is to implement the recommendations beginning in the 2027-28 school year. Thank you.
All right, because it's the end of the meeting, and that is a very important, I didn't know that was coming. I'm going to ask if that text can be included in the minutes and if it can be circulated to our members. So we will have it as an agenda item to discuss at the next meeting because it's very, very important. And I don't want to have everybody when the meeting's time is end time is arrived to deal with it. But thank you for letting us know. Are there any association reports? Not hearing of any. Let me just close the meeting with just a few comments. Number one, I want to thank everyone for entrusting Jordan and me with the leadership roles that you have. As I've said before, our committee always had an important role, but in the current context where the trustees are no longer in place, and when the future of how special education and education is going to be run in Ontario is so up in the air, our committee, I think, has a role that's even more important than it was before, and it always was. It is a huge pleasure and an honor to serve with such a phenomenal team of volunteers. I don't get as much opportunity or take as much opportunity as I should, but those of you who speak out regularly, those of you who speak out less regularly, those of you who are quietly contributing in your own way and speak out less frequently, whoever you are, you're all an incredible resource. We don't all agree on everything, but we all work together, I believe, as a tremendous team and benefit from each other's views. And it really is a privilege. I've thanked the staff before and do again, but I want to mention that I do want to single one person out, and that's Tracy O'Regan. She has served as vice chair over the past year and has been a real support and help to me in the leadership role that you've entrusted to me. And I really, really appreciate it. I welcome your emails telling me about topics that are of importance to you as we plan out what's coming for this upcoming year. And thank you all very much, and we'll see you next month. If anybody wants to move to adjourn, I invite you to move to adjourn.
I'll move.
All right. Nobody's moved to adjourn, so stay here. We're not leaving. See you all next month. Thanks, everybody.